everybody. Welcome back to the Stone and Crane Show. Today we'll be going over like video game purchases, battle passes, and then some of the 2020 Game of the Year awards.
Yeah,
So
we're a
how's it
little.
going today, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. A little late on those awards. I think they're voted on between November, like beginning of November to beginning of December, and then awarded out at like December 10th, I think. So, but
It's only February. We're all right.
yeah,
With the
for sure.
football, Super Bowl, it's some important stuff going on too.
Yeah, real important. Yeah, man. So yeah, as we said, let's get into some of this kind of economics of gaming and how video game makers, producers, whatever you want to call them, make their money. Um, kind of the different things between just buying a game and getting free games and then spending money on the game. Um, we'll go over a bunch of that kind of stuff. If you want to start us off.
Yeah, the reason why I wanted to bring this up, and we've been playing a lot of that Vigor that it came out from PS4. It's been off the Xbox for a while, and of course PC for even longer. But it's a free game, with a battle pass system. Then previous games that I've played with battle passes, I've paid for a couple and then not paid for some other ones. So then it's do you want to, so it's kind of one of those things. I just wanted to discuss that. Is that good for smaller studios to release their game for free and then use their proceeds from the battle pass that are usually $10, and they do some weird things in there to get you to spend a little bit more on the purchase for their coins or their tokens, or whatever you want to call it, to buy the battle pass.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good way for them to keep making money longevity wise throughout their whole history of the game, especially for small studios when it's only a handful of people making the game. So that's why I wanted to discuss that today. We bring that up because it's become quite the norm in our world for video games. Comparing to where I grew up, everything was for free essentially. You bought a $60 game, everything came on that game ever. So, yeah, so it's a little bit weird, but I'm okay with it. As far as games being for free, Battle Pass, and then you purchase it. Some games will have like Vigor. I didn't buy the Battle Pass. I just grinded and got the coins and paid for the coins that way. I
Yeah.
didn't pay money on that game, but we have a mutual friend that did, and because he bought skins with his coins. So I guess it's your preference on however you want to play those games and how you want to do it.
Yeah, for sure. I know we were talking about $60. Even nowadays the new consoles, all the games are $70, right? They went up.
Yes.
So, and that's crazy. I mean, you could kind of chalk that up to inflation if you want or whatever, because $60 has been the norm for a while. But at the same time, if anything, I think games should be getting cheaper because of all the extra money you can put into games. Not just buying the CD or the digital version of probably not the complete game anymore. But yeah, yeah, free games with battle passes that you can buy are definitely I feel like on the rise. I mean, you saw Fortnite, as kind of not obviously not I wouldn't say the pioneer of battle pass, but the game that made it popular for sure. I would
revolutionized to a free game system.
Man, they've made, because of the way they've handled how that has developed and played out, they have made so much money. I mean,
Yeah.
they've probably made more money on that game than they have on any other $60 game. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't see how they couldn't have. That game it's probably one of the biggest multiplayer games ever. Right? I mean, it's so wide range of age people play that game.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a fan just because I don't like the play style, but I'm a more different type of shooter that I like. But as far as battle passes go, that game and the way it was free, and that makes it easy to play, right?
Oh yeah.
Kid can get on, tell his mom the game's free. Parents don't got to pay for the games. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then they can say, hey, there's this $10 battle pass type system that I can buy for the next 60 days, 90 days, 1 month. Depends on how some games are a little bit different. But
Yeah.
as a person, for me, I can see the appeal for that, and how that can make them money long term, because then you're constantly raking in cash for your game with, to me, it's almost like a legitimate system, because you're still giving the player something to reward, and it makes them grind for it and things like that. So, yeah, Fortnite was a huge killer.
Yeah. And then you got these other games that, now that, Fortnite made that popular, Battle Pass we've seen into so many games. It doesn't even, shooters to racing games to, anything. It's almost a norm to see a Battle Pass in a video game these days, it feels like.
Yeah.
So, but the problem comes is when you pay for a $60 game. I'm gonna bring up Modern Warfare. I know both of us played that and played it pretty. We played it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You see that game. We paid the $60 or whatever for it. I think they had a couple more options to pay even more to get some other DLC stuff. That's another thing. Paying for skins and paying for all this other stuff. And then they come out with this Battle Pass that you got to pay for again, and it's like, oh geez, how much money do I really want to spend on this game? Is it really worth that? Am I enjoying it that much? Considering I already spent $60 on this game, do I want to fork over another $10 every 2-3 months? I don't know how long the battle passes were, but yeah, it gets expensive real fast.
Especially there's other games out there, especially with your video game people, like me, other people that play a wide variety of video games. I like them all. Except for mainly ones I don't play a whole lot. We've talked about other racing games I don't play a whole lot, but everything else I play. But I don't want to spend all my little money that I might have on a game that might be $10 that has a good battle pass, that has good gameplay. They might not have the best graphics in the world, but it's still fun, because it's not always what matters, right? I mean, look how long we've played PUBG, right? PUBG's been out for the same length as Fortnite. They came out the same year.
Did they?
Both have battle passes. But PUBG was a cost, so you have your difference. I mean, PUBG was humongous for a few years now, but player base, especially in America, has dwindled. But they still put out battle passes, seasons, and they're grindy and they're hard to complete unless you really put the hours.
Yeah, PUBG is definitely a harder battle pass to go through, and that's another thing. I feel like to do that, that's tough. To have to play as many games as you have to get through that, versus, Vigor, it feels like you can pound at least those first few levels. Obviously, it's got a building experience type thing where the next level is going to take longer than the one before. So, but I feel like that works out where I think PUBG the same? I think same for each level. I don't think.
There's no like extra boosts to help your experience. Every level is more experience, so you got to go higher and higher every time. But I believe it's the same gap.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to.
So I think so. I'm not sure. I didn't do the research on that one, but I wouldn't quote me on it, I guess. But I'm pretty sure it's usually on that.
I don't think anyone's quoting us on anything, so.
No, I don't think so either.
I'm pretty. I actually rewatched our last video. Nobody pointed out the Tempe Kansas City game ended 31-9, right?
Yeah.
I said 33-9 at the beginning of that game. Nobody said anything, but that's besides the point.
Come on, people watch that one sports channel that constantly does everything wrong, so we're okay.
I think we'll get by, man.
We'll be all right. So with a lot of games, I'm completely okay with it. Another big AAA game was Red Dead Redemption 2, right? The online of that game had a lot of potential. It had some good stuff. But they released their Outlaw Pass, and it was their gold bars in their game, which you could pay money for to get. And dude, I bought the first one. I paid money for it, and essentially because of how much I grinded, I didn't have to pay for another one because of the experience and things you get and what you do with that game.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay for it.
And that's a nice reward. I like when battle passes do that. Vigor does that really well because you don't even have to some of them, you only get those gold bars or whatever you need to buy that battle pass if you have the bought-in side. So, but for Vigor to do what they've done with that and for us to play the game to its full ability and not spend a dime on it. It kind of sucks for them, but it's still great for us. I'm sure down the road they'll maybe take some of my money. I don't know. Maybe I'll think about it, just because of how much we play the game.
Yeah. For that one though, I mean, like, even for people like us that might not spend the money on it right now, even if we do down the road, we have like, you have to realize the fact that they need competition in that game too. So they need people like us that are just grind and play. Versus the people like I've played that game a bunch. I've seen those people bought those. They paid $100 for that game because they bought the $100 skin. I mean, yeah, they get a bunch of crowns, they can buy a bunch of their stuff, but they paid $100 for a skin and some crowns, which is great, right? Because that shows that they like the game, they like the skin, and they're supporting the game. I'd probably buy the next one just to support them. If I'm still playing that game, if they fix their problems that they've been having for the regular PS4 systems. Because I'm a pro, so.
Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't even think about that when you brought that up. And we could talk about smaller games and how they have problems. Like Vigor, where unless you have the system that's more equipped, like the PS4 that I have, versus do you have the PS4 original or Slim or?
I have one of the originals. I have the Destiny version.
Okay, but yeah, the lower specs, anyways. For mine to run, honestly, the problems that you're complaining about, I just don't have. Which, that could totally change our opinions about the game, So, if that was like a factor that would make you stop playing that game, that's a big thing right there.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. Because I'm part of the community on Facebook, that's all these PS4 games that people play. It's a constant complaint of them that the crashes, constantly crashing. Even the studio announced back. They said, we're working on it, but they're a small studio, so they only can give up so many people to fix the problem, right? And if it's a major problem, and it's only happening to one set of consoles, and they're not having that issue on everything else, it's really hard for them to push more people on it to fix it, especially if they're developing other games or they're developing other content for that game. So it's hard for small studios. We're big studios. I don't. You spend the $60, you buy the passes, and you're putting the money into the game, and they still don't give you what you want out of the game, or they don't care about your opinions or your concepts or what you get out of it. Well, small studios, they'll take that in and they'll try to adjust, because people like that make Modern Warfare and of course like Rockstar and stuff. They don't care, right? Give me my money. Look at Grand Theft Auto 5, right? Essentially, they've made how much money off of the online version of that game?
Oh yeah.
And it's just buying car skins and car stuff and people, just buying new things for their characters, and they've made a ton of money. Oh. And that game's almost a decade old.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. And I commend them for that part, anyways. Not having to pay another $60 for the same game, over and over again every single year, like these sports games, that we do. That you do a lot of hockey. I did 2K, basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was the first year that I didn't buy hockey back to back since 2013. That was the last time. I had bought hockey every year, and I constantly supported them, but they don't. Their play styles of their games, it feels like the game just got worse. 2014, and 2014 was the best hockey game, in my opinion, in a long, long time.
Well, yeah. And it feels like that's always going to be, you can make the case that the only reason you think that is because you got the nostalgia of that, that was, towards the beginning of when you first started playing. But at the same time, I feel like it's always going to be harder to top those games that you played when you were younger. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, you're never going to beat some of the old school games. Because even one of our friends talked about it, NHL 94, right? So he still loves that game. That's his favorite one. It's 1994, you know what I mean? It's nostalgia at that point. It doesn't hold up to modern day standards, but it holds up to your standards, right?
Yeah.
I'd still play Mike Tyson's Punch Out if you put it in front of me because of how much I love that video game. but you also, back in the day, you bought that game and you paid for that game. Of course, there was no such thing as DLCs, all that type of stuff. Even though they were same price points, you look at inflation and stuff like that. those systems were just expensive, games were just expensive and stuff like that. But I feel
Yeah.
like I don't know. I feel like the video game industry does a really good job of getting their money, which is what they're supposed to do. Don't take me wrong. I'm not mad at them for trying to do that. They're in the business to make money. So, but I feel like they should also give back to the fan base a little bit too. So I'm hoping we get back to that type of stuff. I wanted to bring up like Bad Company 2. Battlefield Bad Company 2 was my favorite shooter of all time because I pre-ordered that game, so I got the VIP package, from GameStop, and then it came with everything forever. Right? I think I might have had to buy the Vietnam pack. I don't remember if that came with my VIP pass. I'm for sure, but even if I did, it was worth it because it was freaking amazing. But that game, the entire time, all the maps, all the DLC that came out was free just because I pre-ordered it.
Mm-hmm.
And things like that, to me, are better than some of the stuff we have now. Which is, that's just that go back a little bit of nostalgia, right? That game was a lot to me. It was amazing. It was really well done. It was the first one of its kind on like console system. So you paid a game, you paid a price. You got a huge game for a lot of content, hundreds and hundreds of hours of gameplay into that game, and I never had to pay another dime.
Yeah.
Compared to now, where some other games that come out, Call of Duty, and even their battle passes, you pay for, man. It's a grind to get to their, I think it's like level 100.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a grind. You really have to put the hours and hours and hours into that game, and I just, for someone like me, I don't see the value of it.
No, for sure not. And it kind of comes to one of my topics is, I got it written down here, is do you think battle passes really belong in full price games?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's hard, right? Because it's for the company to make their money, right? They want to make that extra money. They want to, with the way that our society is now, no one's ever going to be happy with that $60 game, right? They're going to want, even if you were to pay the 80 or 90 for the pass, the season pass, and get all the DLC for it, people are going to always want like constant updated content, especially with like the Call of Duty fan base and people like that, because they're going to want skins and updates and. The same thing with Fortnite. With Fortnite's constantly, they just have like a Star Wars pack, right? So it's.
Oh yeah, they get. It seemed like they get. I think they got something in with Disney because they seem to get everything.
So I mean, but with people like them, we get a free game, but they generate a lot of content. Call of Duty wasn't a free game, and they still generate a lot of skins, and they charge so much for them too. On the side, it's $5, $5, $10, $20 for. Like weapon skins and a body skin, and people pay it, and they know people will pay it, and that's why they do it. So I think it belongs. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's good and bad because it gives more content to video games, But then it's frustrating at the same time because I don't want to spend all that extra money on that content when I feel like it could be. Required, like unlocked through, grinding and things like that, like bigger.
Yeah.
It's a little weird. What about you? Do you think it belongs in the games?
Man, I wish they never started going in them. No, I don't. I can't see at least a battle pass that you have to pay for. I definitely don't see. That I don't agree with at all. So
even if it's a free game, free games.
No, free games. Yeah, free games gotta make their money. And skins. If you're putting skins off to the side and just having a price tag on them. If you don't want to spend money in the game, you never have to. And, that skin doesn't give you an advantage or anything. So that kind of stuff I'm fine with. But I mean, as you. In at least Modern Warfare, there were times in those battle passes where you had to grind it to get a certain gun, and then that's where a pay to win basically scenario kind of happens. It's minor, but it's still.
Because a couple of those guns were nasty, man. They're really good. So you either grind to get them or you pay to get them, right? So.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I got another. Ways that these games are making money. I got ads written down here, and that's not a huge, that's not really a thing in console games anyways. That's more of a mobile game thing. But even so, in 2K20, there was a big uproar because they started putting ads in that game in the loading screens or whatever. They put it on billboards or whatever in the park, that kind of stuff. There was a bit of an uproar there, and they eventually, I think, took it away. But it's just that kind of stuff. That's crazy. I mean, especially a game like 2K, these sports games that put a new game out every year, so people are spending that another $60 on it, and then they're spending more money on all these other things to get better at the game, yada, yada, yada. But that's just.
It's hard. Mobile games are crazy, right? Because mobile games, they make money. When I was doing some research a little bit of this, they literally almost every mobile game has like a battle pass system. Like all of them have some type of pay system where you can pay for battle pass type things. At least all like the big ones, the ones that we voted like top 100 games of the year.
Yeah.
A lot of those games have battle pass systems, and they have advertising. If they're free, there's advertising. You can of course pay to get the advertisements gone forever if you
Yeah.
play the game.
Which is usually pretty cheap. I mean, even for a mobile game, $5, sometimes just a couple bucks. I mean, just support the app, which is, I don't disagree with that at all. You gotta make your money somewhere, and a lot of app games are free to start with. So
A lot of them too are made. Some of them are made by smaller companies, smaller studios, smaller people. I've seen some games that are made by just a couple guys, hanging out, make some games, and then they turn around and make it. So, they got to get their
that
money
turns
back.
into something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is like people I think sometimes forget that, people get into business for passion, but there's also always a financial reward to doing these things.
For sure.
And we gotta, sometimes when it comes into those, it's like, man, I don't want to spend the money on it. You don't have to, other people will, but if there's a battle pass, like with the Vigor one, we went over it a lot. And that's one of the ones that I feel like if you spent the money on it, it's worth every dime you spent because of what they give you in that battle pass. And then
For sure.
every 5 levels, you get to boost up with your experience. So
Makes it easier.
So you get to the level 50 at a relatively decent pace if you put the time into the game. And it's just worth the $10 if you were to spend the $10 on it. Where other games, it's like you spend the $10 and there's nothing like that. It wants you to grind it out. And all they're doing is essentially saying, give me your money, and then play my game more, after the AAA games. Give me $60, give me another $10 every 62 days. So it's to me it's a little crazy when I would rather just see how it used to be. Even the back where it's just the DLC, like you bought the $60 game, you paid $15 for the DLC, and then DLC came out and it was essentially free forever. For the season pass, $20 for the season pass. So I don't know, it's a little hard.
Yeah. For sure.
You want to get into the big one the big controversy, but a lot of that was like the Star Wars Battlefront, right? Battlefront 2, where like essentially everything was hidden behind a paywall. Like everything you had to pay to get anything good, you had to pay for it.
Yeah.
It was like all the loot system and the casino system, and then kids were getting in trouble because they were taking their parents' credit card to do the loot stuff.
You could do that for any game. I mean,
That one was one of the big ones that really shined a light on that
Yeah.
style when you pay $60 plus for a game and then you still have.
I kind of thank him for that, but to get it out there on how bad it was. But you bring up Battlefront 2 and excuse me. I love that game, I'll be honest. I've been playing it lately, this past month, at least before Jacob was born. I don't think I've played it since then, but they have improved that game so much, and they've taken down all that stuff, and they've just made it such a better game. I mean, I love that game. I love playing that game. I enjoy it, especially as a big Star Wars fan. I mean, it was hard for me not to it's hard for me to not like that game at first, but as he said, when it first came out, it was tough to play, tough to do much. So, but in recent months, now that all that kind of stuff has been resolved, they've taken care of it. It's definitely improved.
Yeah, I think I was one of them. The Shadow of Mordor had that problem. The Shadow War, the second one. which one can remember. That one had a huge paywall problem and paying for stuff, and that one was like a really crazy one. Of course, I got it later for a deal, on the PSN network. I bought it the gold edition or whatever for $25, whatever it was, because I love those games. Those games are super fun, but to buy that game and then have to pay for all that extra stuff is just nuts. And eventually they stopped it. They got rid of all of that, and now you don't have to pay for any of it anymore. Now you buy that and it's that game. But it's frustrating when a game comes out. You have to have everything paid extra to win, essentially.
Yeah.
That was the problem with that battle. The online was hard to win unless you paid to get the better stuff.
Yeah.
Because there was a gun, right? The Han Solo gun. you paid to buy that gun, and it was like just a nightmare, and it was annihilated everybody. You didn't have the money to pay for it. You were just kind of screwed in that situation.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's one of the crazy ones. I think I get why they do it. I think it's better for smaller studios and free games or cheap games to do it.
Yeah.
I can understand it, but as far as AAA studios doing it, and I don't know, I feel like it needs to be revamped somehow, the way they get away with it. And
it's just the problem is people are, they're spending money on it. They obviously wouldn't do it if it wasn't, making the money. So
yeah, it's super lucrative for them, right? They make a ton of money, man, and they just kill every year. And Call of Duty's one of those games, right? Every year they're gonna come up with a new one.
Yep.
And then they're gonna put a battle pass system in it now, and then it's gonna change. Right? I mean, even you see how much it affected games. Rainbow Six Siege. I've played that game since beta till now, and it didn't have a battle pass until last year, and it came out in 2015.
Yeah.
And they put a battle pass in 5 years later, 4.5 years later, whatever. They decided to put a battle pass in, and that's just shows you how effective to make more money on a game. Even though they have a season pass, you have to buy every year also for whatever that is, $15, $20, $30 for their season pass they release every year. For the extra characters, they release extra characters every year. So I get they're trying to make their nut, but that's insane, man. To have a battle pass on top of the season pass every year when you don't get any benefit from any of it, and it's pretty nuts. And I don't know. We need to find a better way. I feel like it's hard. It's hard for gamers that don't want to spend all that money to just focus on video games because we like doing other things with our money. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's all I really got. And another thing with, those free games going over, when you get a free game like that, and even if it does have the battle pass or whatever they spend the money, your expectations aren't there. It was free. You're playing it. If you enjoy it, that's a major success. If not, out the window. It doesn't matter. Whereas if you pay this for the $60 game, you enjoy it, but you're gonna probably critique it more because you spent the money on it and all this other stuff.
Sure.
But another thing, that's done because of how big these games are. It's another thing that's totally different from these older games. Is just the size of some of these games. That game developers could be working on games for years, and it will never be considered finished. Because there's just so much to do. You've seen that in No Man's Sky, where it took them time. I'm hoping at least you're kind of seeing a similar thing in Cyberpunk 2077. These games they just need more time. They were both premature. Obviously No Man's Sky has gotten there now, but
yeah, well, I mean, when it came out 2016. Middle, like March, something like that, March 2016, somewhere around there. I can't remember the exact date, but it's supposed to be this revolutionary game, and I was super excited about that game. Upon release, I had a buddy in Utah that we loved. We were just all about every video we could get. We watched it, we talked about it all the time, and it came out, man, and it was I put like 45 hours into that first run. And it was pretty disappointing. And then you could tell the game wasn't done. They got rushed for whatever reason, right? Executives, shareholders, Sony, People they want to make their money, right? They've announced this game, great concept, a lot of stuff, and then I recently have replayed it twice. So they had like one of the bigger add-ons, and then I haven't played the newest one, but the one before that I played. It was fantastic. And the game is really well. It's really well done now. It's fun. It's got a lot of cool stuff to it, and you can do that. Hopefully, Cyberpunk will figure it out. But
Yeah.
to me, it's a little different. Cyberpunk didn't have as much excuse. CD Projekt Red doesn't have an excuse for that failure. It's Hello Games is a small studio, with essentially one guy leading it, and they had problems, and they got bought out by Sony to do their thing, and you can't turn down that type of backing for your concept. But with CD Projekt Red and the Cyberpunk debacle, it's rough, man, because the wait for that game forever, and it came out, and I mean, I put 20 hours into my first play, and I had to stop because it just got so glitchy and bad. It's hard. So paying that kind of money for a video game and having it fail on you is pretty rough.
For sure. Anything else you want to touch on in the
I don't think so, man.
money-making side of video games? How developers and make their money.
Yeah, I think essentially that's all that originally when we started talking about it, we decided it'd be a good idea for the show. I think that's pretty much covers a lot of it.
Yeah. We learned something.
Yeah.
Or not?
Somebody did.
Anyways, let's get on to the 2020 award winners of 2020. This is kind of something we decided to kind of touch over last minute, so we'll talk about it as best as we can. But start with the big one, I guess. 2020 Game of the Year. Here. So first of all, the way this is figured out is there's a panelist, that votes on it. Votes on 90%. It counts for 90% of the vote anyways. These are guys in the media and stuff. Like IGN has a vote, and similar companies and media outlets. And then 10% of it is fan voted, to put a little bit of that element into it. So that's kind of how they come to these conclusions for these. So beginning with the big one, the Game of the Year. Out of the 6 finalists, I only really know 3 of them. I think you got it up on your screen, so you can kind of come along with me. The only ones I really know about anything about is Ghost of Tsushima. Okay, I know a little bit about Animal Crossing, and then The Last of Us Part 2. I watched a full playthrough of that. So, and I watched most of a playthrough of Ghost too. And I know about Animal Crossing. Out of those 3, and then I've looked into Hades a little bit and how big of a game that's become. It's not as huge of a game, I would say, in America. It's still a pretty big game, don't get me wrong. It's more of a worldwide game. Along with Final Fantasy is always going to be big it's big here, but I think it's bigger in countries like Japan and China. We also had Doom Eternal in the voting, which, I know other Doom games. I didn't look much into this one. I'm sure it's a great game.
Yeah, I watched a lot of playthrough of Doom Eternal.
Did you?
Yeah.
You think it was a good game?
Yeah, I mean, I watched Streamer play it, Shroud. I watched him play a lot of it. I mean, I played the first one that it came out, the newer first one, and I enjoyed it. I didn't get Eternal, because it was one of those ones spinning in other stuff, and I was like, I'll just watch people play it. So I just watched them play it. And it looked way better. They improved on stuff they needed to improve on, and they made it better than what they did before. So It's a great game. I mean, I'm happy that it even got nominated because they deserved for just what I watched of it. So.
Yeah. So the winner ended up being Last of Us Part 2. It was a pretty big anticipated game. Last of Us, the original, was such a great game. Um, and that game kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, it was a game that was coming out, these single player games, you know, and the story was great. Everything about it was honestly pretty awesome.
My it's my favorite story game of all time.
The original, the first one.
Yeah, the Last of Us first. Yeah, because I mean, Naughty Dog from all the Uncharted's. I love all the Uncharted's. Those I could make an argument that Uncharted's are my favorite, but there's just so many of them. It's hard to
Yeah.
debate which one. But that first Last of Us was, to me, one of the best done rides for like emotion to a video game.
Right? Yeah, I agree with that, man.
Yeah.
And I feel like
So
that.
this was super anticipated.
Yeah. And coming to this game, I feel like that ride that you mentioned, I feel like that's something they missed just a little bit.
I haven't watched anything on the game. I haven't seen it a darn thing.
Darn thing.
Anything because I want to buy it eventually and play it through. So I've stayed away from all videos, all highlights, all stories. So I have not had any spoilers in that game.
Okay, I'll try to keep it spoiler free then.
I just know that it got a lot of criticism. Right?
So
they did some things that people didn't like, and I know that a couple characters get killed, so I know a little bit about it because you can't hide from all spoilers in our day and age. It's just gonna happen.
yeah, I think what people miss is to go through that kind of, for people that don't know, it's a zombie game. It's a zombie apocalypse game. What kind of mental toll that kind of situation would take on someone, on anybody, on everybody, in fact. So, if you consider that, I think it opens a lot of people's eyes on the game because, the decisions that you're forced to make and, it's tough. Yeah, the outcomes are not necessarily ideal. Sucky-ish. It's kind of sad, I guess. You have to see for yourself. But as for do I think? Okay, let's. What were we going to say? Sorry.
No, it's supposed to be, right? It's not supposed to be. Everything's not supposed to be happy.
No.
In that type of world, it's not perfect. So it's not. It's not Animal Crossing.
No. Not at all. As for do I think it deserved Game of the Year versus these other ones that are up there, and what I know about them, and what I've looked into them, yeah, actually I do. I do believe it was a good enough game. The gameplay was pretty similar versus the first one. They obviously added some things to not make it feel like it was the same game. And I feel like those additions were beneficial. Nothing I felt like that got in the way or anything. So I definitely agree with Game of the Year. It was a great game. I mean, it was big on YouTube. A lot of people put out Let's Plays on it and all that fun stuff. And I enjoyed watching it from, kind of like a movie standpoint, or whatever you want, story standpoint. Going on to next couple, we'll go over best game direction, best narrative. Again, I said that story for Last of Us, I felt like was pretty good. People that's kind of the big thing, the narrative, anyways. Is people kind of disagree because they didn't like where it went, but it still went an unexpected turn. I feel like it had those obstacles. Ghost of Tsushima. Man, I'm butchering that. I need you to say that every time because I butcher it every time. I felt like the story in that just was great, but it was kind of easy to see where it was heading. I'm surprised it's even on this list, honestly. I felt like there were other games that had better stories. It was still great. It was honorable. It was all that fun stuff. The gameplay was great. I think the gameplay is definitely its best feature. Besides the visual effects and all that stuff. I mean, that's and so is Last of Us. Oh my gosh. It's just so amazing looking at these games and knowing, somehow trying to remind yourself that these are animated. I mean, they look better than the real thing at times. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Go back to the year before when Red Dead won, right? Red Dead 2 is one of the most beautiful games I've
Oh, it
ever
is.
seen. It's insane how great video games can make you lose conscious to that world. You're like, holy crap! Like, look at the fog through the trees and the lights coming through. And you're like, how is it even possible to make on a video game
Right.
my face?
Right.
So when I bring it back up, I grew up with Mike Tyson's Punch Out, so it's like I was playing these little pixels that were fighting each other, and now you got these gorgeous video games. So yeah,
Talking about, yeah, going into that best art direction, ended up going to Ghost.
yeah, and that's, to me, from what I've seen of it, I don't see how you could have argued with that for how beautiful and different style of concept that game took.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's very comparable to Red Dead and how beautiful it is, how realistic it feels. It feels like I could be there, just like Red Dead. It feels like I could be there. It feels real.
A black and white version too, where you could play it in black and white for that whole artist feel. There's a whole movie world out there with that type of feel to it. So
Yep.
there's a lot of great old kung fu, and samurai movies that were filmed in black and white. So I know when they added that feature, to have that is huge for fans like me. When I go to play that game, I'll probably play the original, and then I'll probably play the in black and white.
Yeah.
It adds a different feel, context to things.
Got some dogs not enjoying life over there?
No, him is snoring.
Oh, is that what I was about to say? I've been wondering what that has been for like the past 20 minutes.
He's snoring, man. You can't do anything about it.
Oh, that's fine, man. Let him sleep. Best score in music? I don't know anything about the music in Final Fantasy or any of these games other than Last of Us, which honestly Last of Us was fine, I guess. The sound, the nature sound, the sound effects, stuff like that was great. Music-wise was good, I guess, as good as you would kind of expect. It's, one of those types of games, music isn't a huge thing, so.
Yeah. I'm not surprised to see that out of Final Fantasy. I mean, I grew up playing those games, and music was always a huge deal with those games because the tempos in the background and having the music constantly playing at different times and stuff like that. I've watched some gameplay of that game, and I'm not surprised to see that also.
Yeah. Going back in, I guess this audio design, I guess that's where I was kind of leading to, sound. Yeah, I agree with this, Resident Evil 3, huh?
Good sound quality.
Yeah. So, yeah, Last of Us Part 2 is what won that. I know I just said Resident Evil, but Last of Us 2 won that one. Best for performance?
Doom Eternal's on that list again. I mean, it just shows you Doom Eternal's like constantly there with Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us. Doom Eternal's like on like a lot of these lists.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to take a peek at it after this. Same thing with Hades. I think I might take a peek. Best performance.
Yeah, so I haven't seen any of the games, so I
yeah, you don't know who Abby is.
Yeah, I have no really opinion on this one.
They have Abby, and then they have Ellie, on there too. Also have main character in Ghost. They have Hades in Hades, and then they have guy playing Morales.
Yeah, Miles Morales.
Yeah, which I don't. Have you looked into Miles Morales at all?
Yeah, I was gonna wait till I got a PS5 to buy it, play it. I know it's out for the 4, but I haven't. Yeah, I love the other Spider-Man. It was one of the best games that I have played in years. That game is amazing. So, but as far as games go, and with the way games look nowadays, for some of those games, I'm gonna hold out till I have a PS5 to get some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Have you watched the gameplay of that, or?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've watched it throughout. You're off a little bit.
Oh no.
Oh no, indeed. Man, I'll be honest. I really don't want to pause this recording because that means I gotta mesh 2 together.
Oh no! How bad is it?
At least 2 seconds.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Here, I'm gonna try something.
Okay.
I'm gonna end the call and bring it back. We'll see how this works.
Ah.
Woo! I saw your clutter.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're on now.
Alright.
Okay. Let's try that. Okay, we were talking about Abby. I felt like she had a great performance. In the same game, Ellie was in there too. I felt like her performance was just as good, if not better. I thought it was great. I know we were just talking about Miles Morales here. His performance, the voice acting in it, anyways, was good. I mean, the problem with that Spider-Man movie or video game, sorry, it just the feels weren't there. It was great. It was fun to watch. It just wasn't as it hit those nerves like Last of Us 2. I felt like did. So I felt like that kind of hurts him in that way, anyways. But
Sure.
anyways,
They got some flack too. They changed the character design to Peter Parker, right? And they got a little bit of flack for some of the minor things that they did.
yeah.
All that hurts. I don't think it does.
I don't know anything for this next category, so we're skipping it.
Me either.
Best ongoing game. I know you'll like to talk about this, so I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, so best ongoing game is No Man's Sky. You touched on it a little bit earlier. I was super happy to see that, man, for a game that has gotten so much crap for the last 4 or 5 years. It's just been shit on left and right. And people just, it was rushed. And once again, people, they want everything right now. And I get it, man, they're mad. And I was upset. But it's such a better game than it was set out to be, and it's by far superior than anything that I ever imagined it was ever going to be. So, yeah, man,
Yep.
I'm happy to see that.
Yeah.
Some of these other games I don't, ongoing game, I don't, Fortnite.
Who, by the way, Fortnite had won the previous 2 ongoing game awards. So
Yeah,
it's just popularity, man.
yeah, and that's all it is. It's just how popular it is. And I get that.
Yep.
Right, that Fortnite we talked about a little bit. The game is humongous. That game is huge, dude. Every kid,
Yep.
every little kid plays that game. I don't know, there's a lot of adults that play too. I don't know why, but they do. You play much better games. You have even Call of Duty Warzone and Apex is on there. I'm not the biggest fan of Apex. Good game. It's fun.
I enjoy it.
all that
I
stuff.
play it.
Yeah, it's got its perks. I don't have anything to knock on it. It's just not my style. For BRs and stuff. I know we'll talk about. I'm more of a PUBG fan. I like
Yep.
more of that style.
Yeah, you're a little more realistic.
Yeah,
I would say.
like the jumping around and weird stuff and things like that. So.
Although every time I play that game with you, you complain on how you can't jump over anything.
Oh, that's because you can't vault over anything. That's my problem. You just can't vault over. I don't want to jump everywhere and down the feet in the air. Crap, I just want to be able to jump into a window.
That's terrible, isn't it?
Get that PUBG core.
Yeah. Then we had Destiny. Yeah, we had Destiny 2 on there as well. I played that game a bit, and you talked about how Fortnite isn't your forte, and Destiny 2 just didn't seem to be my forte either. I enjoyed the little bit that I did play it. Just the way it's played, I didn't care for it. I didn't like it. So.
Yeah, I mean, we can go back. My PlayStation, I owned the white Destiny one. I was so pumped for that first Destiny game. And then it came out, and it was okay. It's just really repetitive. I don't want to do the same race
I agree with that.
over and over and over again for really bad loot systems. And then now I think they have a battle pass, right? Destiny 2, I think, has a battle pass.
I'm sure. Yeah, they do.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you're in that concept. I know they fixed it from the things I've read for Destiny 2 that people like it better now than when it originally came out. But I'll probably never play it. just because of how much that first one turned me off. So yeah, I'd be happy about No Man's Sky, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Play it. It's great.
Best indie game, Hades. Ended up winning that. I agree 100% on that. Fall Guys got nominated. I agree with their nomination. I don't, if they would have won, I would have disagreed. But that game kind of came out of nowhere. Fun game. It was fun to play. I know we got it for free, right? The few times. I think I don't know, it was weird. I don't think it was a free game. I think we got it on a free month or something, a free week or.
Yeah, it came out. I think it was one of the free games for that month. I think on PlayStation.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
I think it wasn't getting a lot of traction on the PlayStation, so they put it for free, and then that was right when it started blowing up.
Yeah.
And another game, it's got a battle pass.
Yeah. Simple as that is like for people that don't know what Fall Guys is, it's kind of like a Wipeout type game. You know what Wipeout? Yeah, everybody watched Wipeout. Some point or another. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, just little characters running up a hill, getting smashed by things.
I won it once. I'm happy. I pretty much never played it after that. Okay, going on to best mobile game. I disagree with this 1,000%. Among Us won it. Among Us is a great game. Among Us, you got Call of Duty Mobile, and you also got Genshin Impact. I don't know about the other two, but I know those three, and all three of them, I would say, are more. At least Among Us is on the PC, but the other two are more console games. I would not say they're mobile games. I feel like they, at least in this case, they kind of fed off of that.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to see more true mobile games on there, kind of like Clash Royale, those types of games, and these other actual mobile games are maybe more. Yeah, exactly. I think I saw back that PUBG Mobile got on the list a few years ago or something, and I didn't agree with that either. So.
Yeah, I'd rather see games that aren't designed for consoles to switch over to mobile just to break extra cash. Because mobile, which is weird, there's mobile gaming is a decent platform now, and it's but I mean, at some point they gotta make their money, right?
Yeah, for sure. Best community support. I think Valorant should have won this, honestly. Fall Guys won it, and what I've looked up, there's a lot of one way or the other for Fall Guys. You're either in total support for it, or the problem is the community that plays it and doesn't necessarily cheat, but there's a lot of ways you can kind of harass people in that game, and
there's a lot of griefing in that.
Griefing, there you go. Yeah. It's just.
A ton of griefing in Fall Guys, man.
So that right there, that I feel like that counts as part of a community, and for that reason and that reason alone, I don't feel like they should have won this.
Yeah, this is. I don't know this one. Yeah, I mean, for what they're defining it as, it's more along from the studio. This is like what the studio, outreached and updating and patches and stuff like that.
Okay.
I don't know much. I mean, yeah, you want to get in the community of games. I mean, I'm sure that Valorant, from what I've watched quite a bit of it. It's got some decent people in it, but most video games, man, communities are pretty toxic. So.
Oh yeah, and there's no perfect community out there for sure.
No, there's definitely not. You're never gonna get it anywhere in the video game world.
No, never.
It's just different version of the
even these free games that people play, like Apex, Fortnite, Valorant, they're on here.
I get love letters from Vigor. He jumped out of the tower. He landed on the ground. I smacked him in the head. And within 5 minutes, dude, boop, message from him, called me, camping little bitch. It's like, no, I seen you run up there. So I stopped, waited for you to jump out because you're an idiot, and I shot you. then I hit the block button. Can't talk to me anymore.
Right.
But I don't know much else about this. I know Valorant, responsive. So Riot Games, right? They're responsive to all their
Yeah.
stuff. And I mean, they made League of Legends, right?
Yep.
And they've always been responsive to that. And then that game's old as hell.
Oh,
and they still update it, and they still really respond to all that.
One of the, if not the biggest game.
Yeah, I mean,
if you count worldwide, yeah, it's.
Yeah, League of Legends, Dota, right?
Dota is competitive. Yep, competitive with them. That's kind of the two. They work off each other really well, actually. I think to make it competitive. On to the next one. Well, VR. I don't hate either of us. Well, I've seen Squadrons. Looks really cool. I feel like that'd be something that I would be. Obviously, as a Star Wars fan, obviously, I'd be into that. Marvel Iron Man was alright. That I've seen, but those are the only two I really know anything about. So.
Yeah.
So next we got innovation in accessibility.
Yeah.
Pushing mediums forward.
Yeah, boundaries, something like that.
So,
I'm not surprised to see Last of Us get that.
Yeah, Last of Us Part 2 won that. Watch Dogs Legion, Hyperdoc, Grounded, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla were in the mix.
Yeah, I'm just not surprised to see Last of Us. If any other one, it would be Legion. I think I wouldn't have been surprised about seeing, just for content, especially where help games played enjoyed by a wider audience. Last of Us with some of the content, especially with Ellie being gay and things like that, it helps push that narrative a little bit easier for people to understanding and things like that, to widen that horizon for player base. Give somebody else a player to attach to, so it's, I can see how that got that. So
yeah. And I agree with it. Best action, Hades won that. That's no surprise, especially with who they got out here. Oh, Doom, I'm sure was close.
I'm surprised it didn't get that.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about Hades. I've seen a tad bit. To be honest, I don't know a whole lot, but I know way more about Doom. But just from what I watched, Doom, that game was nonstop, man. And especially watching it with the harder difficulties, that game was just the music, the gameplay, the sounds, everything about that game was just. It was absolutely insane. So
yeah.
I mean, I'll have to look at Hades to really give a better opinion on that one. But.
Yeah, and I'll have to look at Doom to get a better, what kind of in that situation. Next we got, if you want, you go ahead.
Best action and adventure. I mean, of course, Last of Us Part 2 again. I mean, once the game hits like that, they usually went across the board. So
when it's as good as of a game and it's as popular as it got, it's going to be tough to, people, you almost don't like to see it win all these, but at the same time, it was just that great of a game that it's going to.
Like, almost every year you get a game that does that, right? Like Red Dead did it. They won everything they were a part of and stuff. They're just going to have, and they went up against some tough competition. I mean, I don't think that they had. In this list, I don't feel like it's the toughest of years for video game releases to go against as far as that action adventure. I know that Star Wars Fallen Order, people had some likes and dislikes on it pretty heavily wide.
Yeah, it's made by EA. It's always gonna.
It's
always gonna be tough to like that. So.
Or even the Will of the Wisps. I don't know anything about that game.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one on this list that I don't know. Assassin's Creed was out kind of late too, wasn't it?
Yeah, late.
So.
Really and then I mean, but it's another Assassin's Creed, same concept as the last two, style of game. I'll play it when it comes out cheaper. I'll buy it and play because I love the last two of them. So.
Yeah, and what I've seen. Yeah, and what I've seen from it seems like a fun game. I don't know how well, obviously you didn't see it in like some of the story stuff. And, from what I watched, I didn't really care too much about the story, which is kind of what I'm big into. So
those games aren't. The only other one I feel like on this list I would have probably rattled it is Ghost of Tsushima. Because that's the only one that I've seen that probably would have rattled it.
Yeah.
But I think that's about it.
You got best role playing game, no doubt Final Fantasy. Maybe Genshin Impact. I've heard how popular that game kind of got. Was I don't even know if it was close second. I'm sure it was second. I don't know if it was a close second, but
yeah, the Final Fantasy remake, 7 remakes, you could remake that game every 3 years and just win every best role playing game all the time. And I know they're gonna make more content, right? They're gonna make new stuff for that game because it wasn't the actual whole game of Final Fantasy 7. It was only a small part of it. So they're gonna make more of them, which is good money making scheme.
Yeah.
Keep doing that. But there's a lot of stuff. They really changed the whole game. So yeah, good for them.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy getting some love, man.
Oh yeah. Next we got best fighting game. And when Mortal Kombat comes out with a game, it's gonna be tough for anybody to beat them.
Yeah. There's not too many other Street Fighters are pretty big, but it's
they're pretty big old, when you think old school is Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter. Obviously, I feel like Mortal Kombat has taken that step past them in these newer versions and stuff, so kind of left them in the dust a little bit. I own Mortal Kombat 11. Or is it? Yeah, 11. Can't remember if it was 10 or 11. I enjoyed it. I got it to play with friends that come over. Before, this was before obviously COVID kind of hit. When I was having a lot of people over and playing that game with them. I was never good at it, but I enjoyed it. I played through the story, so I fulfilled. What do you say? It's I bought it at full price. I think I got my money's worth. I was happy with it. Probably could have played it more, but I just, as I said, I really, after I finished the story, I really only ever played it when I had other people come over. I didn't really play it online much. I wasn't big into it, so.
I'd get ran over fighting games anyway. I try to play them online.
Dude, 1 second you feel like you got a handle on it, and the next second you don't. But that's usually because all you're doing is button mashing.
No, fighting games, man. When I'm in my younger days, we played a lot of them, but I haven't put the time into them, and I can't even imagine trying to play that game online. Even if I got good at it, I watch a lot of those guys play fighting games on YouTube, and the competitions and stuff. And it's nuts, man.
It's crazy how.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's insane stuff, man.
We got best family game. Animal Crossing, no doubt.
Yeah,
I see Fallout Guys is on there, but I wouldn't put it really high on the family game tier. I mean, easy on the eyes, I guess.
But, Animal Crossing is really a winner, right? Because literally everybody, it's just such an easy game for people to play,
Oh, yeah.
You bring that up. My wife, who doesn't play a lot of video games, she owns it. You know what I mean? So it's like, when you talk about that, how a game everybody can play it because it's fun and it's interesting.
Yeah.
For that style of concept game, it's, because kids can play the game, and to me, it's probably a good game for younger kids to play.
Oh yeah.
Call of Duty. Probably should let them make them play Animal Crossing. Probably teach them a thing or two about helping people. Not saying how they're gonna do things to my mom in chat.
This next one I hate.
1000%.
Why would you put those two? Why is that? Why are those two together? That's my question. Why is sim and strategy together?
Because there's probably not enough big enough market.
I guess so, but
it's the same as when
Flight Simulator takes no strategy at all.
It's the same thing when they do horror and sci-fi. They always put horror and sci-fi together.
I guess so.
They don't just separate those, even though sci-fi is nothing like the horror genre.
Yeah.
And the horror genre is nothing like sci-fi. But
there's some mashups, for sure, and there's some good ones for sure. But you could have a horror game that's nowhere near sci-fi and a sci-fi game nowhere near horror. So.
Just in general, like movies, TV, games, everything, books, you name it. Like you go to a section, it's sci-fi horror. It's like no, I want sci-fi.
Yeah. So, the winner ended up being Microsoft Flight Simulator. I feel bad for the people that bought this game flew to their house, crashed, and never played it again. I feel like that happened.
I watched the videos of it. It looked pretty cool.
Looked cool.
It looked like a
Visually, it
Farming
was
Simulator.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other ones I know a little bit about. Red XCOM, I know a little bit about it. Crusader Kings, I know a tad bit. But
Yeah.
Desperados, I've seen some plays of it. I think that's the one that I'd watched some plays. And then Gears Tactics, I know nothing about.
No,
So,
I love Gears of War,
yeah.
but Gears Tactics. What even is that?
Yeah, I did.
I've never even seen this game. I can't even. I don't even know if I can say I'm a Gears fan anymore.
So when I was watching this the other day, and it was because I'm like strategy games, and that's one of them, and that got brought up. But it had some gameplay, but I don't know anything about the Gears of War stuff. So because I never had an Xbox, so I'd never played any of the Gears of War. Of course, watched gameplay.
I love them.
They did talk about tactics a little bit.
I played all of them. I played all, back because I grew up with Xbox. I played all Gears of War. I played all of the Halos. Those are two things I grew up with. I love both of them. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do a mashup, I'm not surprised to see Microsoft Flight Simulator in there because that game was massive when it was released. So.
Yeah, for a week.
Yeah, it made a lot of money.
They made way too much money for how simple that game was. It just was beautiful, which, I mean, credit to them for making it as beautiful as they made it, but it was a little cringy. But Bet Sports and Racing Game. So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 won this. For out of these games, I mean, FIFA I feel like is always going to be up there just because of how popular it is. Worldwide game. 2K21, I mentioned I played a lot of 2K. I did not play 2K21, but I know what it is. I've looked into it, obviously, because I thought about buying it. They took a step forward. They made it more of a, what do you call it? You can free roam more, bigger. I always forget what it's called. F1 2020. I watch a lot of that. I like watching F1. I like watching F1 2020, and a lot of people are saying that's one of the best F1 2020 games in a long time. They went on a streak of bad games. For a while, they're kind of like all, those games. We talked about earlier about games coming out every year at the same price at $60, whatever. F1 is no exception, but the way, I've heard and the way they've talked about it and the steps they've taken definitely seem to be going into the right direction. It's made by Codemasters, who was recently bought out by EA. Was it EA that bought them?
I'm not gonna have to look that one up because they made Dirt too. Dirt.
Yeah, I see that.
Which, those are great games, right? So.
Yeah, EA bought Codemasters for $1.2 billion.
Or is they gonna do the same thing they do to everything else they buy? Just shove it in the back room somewhere and kill it?
I sure hope not. Well, the thing is, they, I also, obviously with being into that game, I looked into it. So what it sounds like is really all they're doing is buying it and putting their name on it. Codemasters is still going to be their own group, and they're going to be working on it. The only thing is that worries people and myself is the ability now to kind of pick guys out of that game, the F1 game that are doing great stuff, and putting them into different games. So that could be a takeaway. They could also bring stuff in. We'll kind of see. From what it sounds like, F1 2021 probably isn't going to get affected by this. Obviously, this transaction just happened earlier this month, I think. So, kind of a big thing. Dirt. I've played some of the older Dirts. I don't know anything about Dirt 5, but if it's improved, it's a great game. Obviously, you're not a racing guy, so.
Yeah, I don't mind. Like I said, I don't mind racing games. I just, you find them a little bit boring for
Yeah.
the most part.
I recently downloaded F1 2016, I think it is. It was free, so I downloaded it just to screw around in it. I enjoy it. I wish I had a wheel,
Yeah,
but even on the controller, I enjoyed it, man. I would love a wheel, man. That'd be amazing.
yeah. I just don't. I'm kind of blah about the whole industry, and then Tony Hawk winning it was just it's one of the one. My whole feeling on the remake of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 is just it's a good money grab for them, right? To bank on the nostalgia of people that are my age
Yeah.
that game was so huge for me
Brandon
as a
bought that
kid.
game, didn't he?
I don't think so. I don't think
He's
Brandon bought
playing
that.
one of the Pro Skater games.
He's playing Skate. No, what is that Skate? He's playing Skater XL.
Maybe
I
that's
think that's
it.
what he's playing around.
Okay.
It's like the one he's playing because EA once again for some reason won't make Skate. I know they're making it now, but it's been a decade.
Yeah.
And they could have. That game made so much money for them. You look at the sales of those games, and
EA is
that's a
just
whole
such a
other.
big.
Well, they do. They get concepts and they buy stuff and they do things with smaller studios and they buy them or they put their name on them for a year or two and then they just close them down.
Yeah.
And they stop making that game if it doesn't make them $1 billion fucking dollars. They're just like, nah, you suck, and then they don't want anything to do with it anymore.
Well, they just spent $1 billion, so.
So once they make their double their money on that franchise, they'll probably close it down and everything. It's what they do. It's so frustrating, man. Because as far as me with Skate, the EA Skate games blow all the Tony Hawk games ever made out of the water. I can go back and play Skate 2, Skate 3. It's a decade old, and it'll be 1,000 times better than anything they make right now. Most games, because of I don't know, the innovation of those games were far beyond what other games were doing at the time.
Is that
I'm
just
not a fan.
is that just an Activision thing? You think? You think that company just doesn't know what they're doing, or?
No, I don't know why people try to know Skater XL is doing it right now, and then there's another one too, another skate game that's doing the same concept of skate, the viewpoint, the sticks, using sticks to flip your deck and things like that were just so revolutionary for the skate franchise compared to Tony Hawk, where it's like, oh look, I'm hitting a button to do this, and then I'm hitting this button to grind, and now I can just do whatever. It's more arcadey than it was an actual skateboarding game.
Okay.
So it's fun. This maybe should be named best arcade game. Sports game is it's a little rough, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Next, best multiplayer, man. Among Us got big. I wouldn't say.
Yeah, it came and went.
Yeah, it got big. I feel like it got bigger for people who watch people that play it than it did for people that actually play it. You know what I mean? I felt like it was one of those games.
For a while, and then it went away.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Twitch right now, and you look at what's the most watched game on Twitch, it's Valorant. And Valorant is one of the most watched, it's played.
Yeah.
It's huge right now. It's because especially when it comes to multiplayer shooters, I don't know how they didn't win. Even Call of Duty, in my opinion, would forget.
Yeah, I would put Call of Duty over Among Us. Yeah.
They probably just did it because it was a different concept, in my opinion. And like the whole experience of it was completely new from other multiplayer games we've played in the past, right? Oh look, I'm gonna kill my friends and not get caught. It was fun to watch. I watched the streamers play it, and it's kind of hilarious. It got old really quick, and because it's just there's only so much you can do with it.
Yeah.
You could say that the same thing about shooters, right? But
I mean, I would, going back to our strategy games, I would put it above Flight Simulator because the strategic, stuff that you need for it, I feel like is big. So, we go into some other stuff. Content Creator of the Year went to Valkyrie, which, I don't know if you know much about her. I know you know a little about Tim. I don't know about anybody else other than Tim and Velk.
Yeah, my whole problem with the Content Creator of the Year, so I'm getting this is just your streamers, right?
Streamers slash, I mean, they, at least, obviously Nick and Valkyrie are both on teams, on, video gaming teams. Ray's, she's I've seen some of her stuff. she's likable. She's serious. She's a good gamer. She's not just there to be that one girl, or anything. Tim is obviously Tim.
Yeah.
And
He's
as I
fun to
said,
watch. He's
yeah,
not my favorite.
yeah. So
It's a good thing about that world, right? I mean, I have my favorite streamers. Choco Taco by far is superior than every other streamer out there. It's not even a close second.
even the doctor.
I like can't go wrong with 2 times. 1993, 1994, blockbuster champion.
Oh man, that's never gonna get old.
Dr. Disrespect won what he won the streamer awards 2 years in a row, right? Just the last 2 years. He won it back to back for streamer of the year.
Yeah.
He's amazing to watch. He's fun to watch. He's just
Yeah, he is.
The screaming constantly gets old, and the way he is. So I watch him. I mean, I pretty much watch a little bit of him almost every day. But the one I can't miss is Chaco, man. Calm. He's a fun guy. The people that he plays with are usually fun to watch also. So
yeah,
I know why he's on this list because he doesn't have as many. He lost a lot of support, like over some of the PUBG stuff, some of the shit that he's talked and things like that, and some stuff like that. So I'm assuming he's lost some followers, but he's still the best, man. Chaco Taco he's the best. I know a little bit about some of these other guys. I think Merck's is good and Tim's good, but some of these other I don't really watch any of the other ones, so I'll have to look into them. But
yeah,
yeah, that is what it is. I don't pay too much attention to the streamers or the content creators. I watch Choco Taco, which Hollywood Bob Live, and then like Halifax, and then Doc. So those are those streamers that I watch mainly. So.
Yeah. Debut game. I don't know anything about any of these games.
Yeah, I watched the Phasmophobia, whatever. I watched a little bit. I get played. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about these. So that won it. So.
Don't know about athlete or coach. Sports event, League of Legends, as we were talking about, I was saying it's one of the biggest games in the world. It's just how crazy. Yeah, it's just so popular. People love watching it. It's an easy, even if you don't care about that kind of side of the game, it's so easy to play and just, get into, I feel like, as well.
Well, it's on ESPN. I mean, when you have a game that ESPN broadcasts, that's insane, man. And when it's a video game, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to broadcast it because people are interested in it."
Yeah, people actually watch it.
The value of it, people watch it, so it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I'm not surprised to see that they won that.
Yeah, esports game, obviously, League of Legends won that.
Yeah.
I would like, I'm glad to see Valorant. None of these games were going to beat League of Legends. I'm a little surprised Dota wasn't on there, but that's about it.
Dota 2 I think Dota 2's been out for so long that I feel like I know League's been out since 2013 also.
Yeah.
I think but Dota 2 I think has been out for longer, right? So I'm not sure, but some of those games are I'm not surprised to see that the best niche sports game is that.
Yeah, and that's kind of it. We got some other stuff.
Yeah.
If any of you guys want to check out any of this or past stuff, it's on thegameawards.com. Pretty simple. They've been doing it since 2014. Pretty respectable. I agree with most of their stuff. Looking even in back years, it's nice to have kind of, in terms of the top awards. I think these guys find the best. They got the backing. As they got 95 media platforms. I was looking up to vote on the game. So I feel like they got a good backing, and those platforms are high regard. As I said, IGN. I could look up some other stuff, but I mean.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, I'm not looking at that stuff and how much I watch video game things and seeing some of the stuff that did well this year. Yeah, makes sense. A lot of those make sense. Cool.
Okay.
That's all I got, man. I don't think I have anything else.
Nothing else? We're finally done?
I don't think so, man. I think that wraps up some of the video game conversation for at least this one. I'm sure there's some other stuff we could get into. eventually here, but I think as far as battle passes and how they make their money and things like that, and then the video game awards, I think they pretty much covered all of it. You got anything else?
Just about to start the close. But no, in terms of pricing of games, I hope it'd be cool to get to a time where you don't have to pay to play anything, to at least start playing anything. I think that'd be revolutionary. Kind of takes me back, I've seen, what's it called? That video game, Game Over? What is it called? That video game movie that came out just a couple years ago. It was kind of that virtual game. What?
Ready Player One.
Yeah, Ready Player One. That kind of thing where you get into that and then there's all these games you could play or whatever. Yada, yada, yada. I mean, in terms of video games, do you think we'll ever get to that kind of set where there's a game like that, where there's games inside games,
I mean, I don't know. With the video game world, man, it's so wide open. When you look at the leaps and bounds VR's taken in the last few years.
Oh yeah.
It's really come a long way, and then you get into things like that. And then with free games too, with people making free games, it opens it up. I mean, I talk about content, and there's so much content out there for everything. Am I off again?
No, you're good. Sorry.
You talk about like content, for video games and how much there is, especially if you look at like movies, right? How much money there is to be made for video games in general versus other media platforms. If you make a free game, you can put it on a platform like a VR platform if you can make that and make it work. And we can just come home and slap this bad boy on our dome piece and jump into a world and we can just pick
yeah
game we want to play. Who knows, man? Who knows what the next 10 years are going to bring, and what we have available is going to be pretty insane. So,
yeah, for sure.
People like Big Will and Jacob are going to grow up in a pretty cool world.
They sure are, man. They sure are. A couple of terrorizers. Well, I thought this was going to be a shorter episode. It was not. So I apologize if you were hoping for that, but we're just rambling, man. I mean, video games, I know both of us are very passionate about them, so it's definitely something that I guess I should have figured we were going to talk about for a while.
Yeah, I figured it'd been a while, especially once we decided to add on the Game Awards.
Yeah, I think we were just shy of an hour before that, and now it's been another half hour since then, so.
Yeah. All right, man.
Okay, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, or don't. Again, leave a comment of something. We don't have a comment yet.
Yeah, we don't have a comment. Somebody leave a comment. I don't care what it is.
Let us know what you want us to talk about, maybe, or
Some ideas. We'll discuss.
we'll probably ignore them, but that's fine. At least he's commented.
Go opposite. That's fine.
We still don't know what we're doing next week. We never do. So we got some ideas though. So we'll bring you something. Anyways, it's been. See you next time.
All right. Peace.